Prog rock. That's short for progressive rock, right? And that gets us into all kinds of trouble. I think that's the only thing we can agree on is what prog stands for. Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott. I'm trying to get through my sickness here. I know my audio was terrible, so I'm going to try something a little bit different here today, setting it up on the desktop and using an actual microphone. We'll see. I'm getting a new phone here pretty soon. I think next week or something like that. We are getting the new iPhone 17, so all my audio trouble should be out the window, so I apologize for the last couple months of bad audio. It's not cool. I'm sorry. I'm better than that. But anyway, we're talking about the great progressive dilemma today. This is something I've been wanting to talk about for a while because it really does, pin down exactly what we're doing here as prog rock fans and what should bands be doing. It's a weird thing because you've got the word progressive baked right into the genre title, right? We're calling this a genre. It's a label. And whenever you label something, you're pinning it, right? You're pinning it down, right? So it can't move anymore like a butterfly or an insect in your collection. It's stuck. It's not going to progress anymore. So as soon as we put a label on it, right, the progression kind of automatically stops. And it makes me think of quantum mechanics, right? Where the very act of observing a thing actually changes that thing. It's kind of weird, but it's kind of that way with prog rock too. And I have a whole lot of you guys that say, I don't think there's been anything interesting going on in prog rock since 1974. And I get that. I think a couple of you have said, yeah, they used all the good notes already. There's only 12 notes in music. That's it. If you do microtones and stuff, I know when I spent some time in North Africa hearing those microtones, you kind of get used to it after a while. But there are 12 tones in Western music, so there's only so much you can do. The great Bill Bruford once said that by 1972, all the slack was out of the rope. And that's exactly the predicament that prog rock has been in for over 50 years, right? The first few years were easy, right? No one had ever done anything like this before. No one had ever taken rock music, right, and blown up the entire playbook as far as song structure, length of songs, time signatures, strange instrumentation, genre bending, borrowing from other genres, just all the stuff that was going on in the late 60s, early 70s. None of that had been done before. So it was all new. It was all fresh. And the greatest genre in the history of mankind was formed in the crucible of those great years, right? And once you fall upon something perfect, why do you want to change it? That's the thing that's kind of weird about the whole dilemma here. It's a real conundrum, right? Because once you achieve perfection, where do you go from there? Well, Bill Bruford just quit. Yes, he said that was it. That was the cookie. There's no way we could advance any further. No way we could progress any further. Of course, he was wrong, but that's how he felt at the time. And, you go into King Crimson, that lasted 3 albums, so the slack was already coming out of that rope. All the stuff that had never been done before was kind of getting done. So that left us in a real strange predicament when all those great bands started running out of ideas, right? Because, not every band has 10 great albums in them. It's really amazing that we got bands like Yes and Genesis and Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Vandergraaf Generator and Gentle Giant, Pink Floyd, Jethro Tull, Rush, all giving us amazing album after album after album. That's kind of not normal, right? Most bands only have a few good albums in them or, a handful of great ideas. So where do you go from there? And, what did prog rock do? Well, prog tried to invent itself. I think in the late 70s, I think a lot of the bands were realizing the Bill Bruford statement was true. The slack was out of the rope. Where do we go from here? So instead of listening to their muse, instead of listening to their artistic instincts, they started listening to crass commercialism and the men in the 3-piece suits telling them what to do, telling them how to get a hit single. And they started buying into all that, man. It wasn't the label's fault, though. It was the band's fault. It was the artist's fault. They were looking for new territory. I mean, Yes couldn't do Close to the Edge, part 2, 3, 4, 5. They had to keep moving forward. They had to keep progressing. But Did they? I'm of the opinion that, if something is perfect, that if something is special, if something is amazing, you should honor that. You should cherish that. You should preserve that. And I'm not saying that, bands should be popping up today that sound exactly like Yes or Genesis, because that's impossible, right? We've all heard the Yes clones, right? We've all heard the Genesis clones. They don't sound anything like Yes or Genesis. They really don't. They sound like themselves. And that's why I've got Starcastle behind me there, because they didn't sound like Yes. I don't care what people say. Maybe a little bit. Maybe they did a little bit. But, the conundrum here is that how do you progress then? Where do you go? I mean, is it just like this endless streak of continually trying to find new things to say? There's no more new notes, right? We can't, there's 12 notes. There's no more notes we can invent, right? I guess you could invent some new instruments. Technology was always at the cutting edge of prog rock, and how prog musicians were real able to utilize this new technology in service of their art. And, this is where a lot of modern artists are having problems with AI, right? What do you do with AI? That's the modern technology, but it just feels wrong, right? So it kind of, third rail for a lot of artists is going that route, although some artists embrace it. And this is going to be an interesting thing going forward. But, where can prog go, right? I mean, we've already fused all these different genres together, right? Originally, it was jazz and rock or classical and rock, whether you're looking at, bands like King Crimson or Soft Machine. And then you've got, all the different things going on today that kind of make me wonder where prog's going. You look at the biggest label in all of progdom is Inside Out, and they seem to be purging themselves of prog artists, right? It seems to me that they're going straight up for the prog metal. Is that progression? I mean, we've been having prog metal in our lives since the 80s. So, I don't want to hear, the retro prog is, it's just looking back to the 70s. Oh, those bands like Wobbler and Big Train and stuff like that. Come on, man. Your favorite prog metal bands just looking back to stuff Fates Warning was doing back in the 80s and 90s. So I don't want to hear about it. There really is nothing new under the sun. So the whole idea that, prog has to progress in order to be progressive has bothered me for some time. And I don't know exactly how to correct this situation, but it must be done. So we're going to take a look at a couple things here today, try to figure out what's what, and figure out where our beloved genre is going in the future. Well, I can tell you right now that, there are so many great bands out there, and they're doing their own thing, and they're not beholden to anyone. They don't have to worry about the labels telling them what to do, because a lot of these bands self-release their stuff, or they own their own small labels. So that gives them the artistic freedom to do whatever they want. And that is exactly what prog rock should be, right? Bands just doing what they want, doing what their fans might kind of nudge them towards, but ultimately it's their decision, their say. Because today's batch of prog bands, nobody's becoming a millionaire, right? Unless your name is Steven Wilson or Opeth or Dream Theater, you're not making big money doing this kind of music. You're just not. So as a result, the commercial aspect of it kind of gets pulled out. Whereas in the 70s, when prog was selling millions and millions of copies, and hundreds of thousands of people were filling the stadiums and whatnot to see these acts, that's not the case anymore. So you can almost pull the commercialism out of the prog rock right now and just focus on what we've got going on musically and artistically. And we are in a new golden age. We most certainly are, although the sales don't seem to indicate that. They definitely don't represent the actual health of our beloved genre. But it's true, man. Prog is strong right now. We've got so many great things going for our beloved genre, from glossy magazines to internet radio stations to all kinds of YouTube channels to people on Facebook talking about it, and Facebook forums and stuff. Prog rock is alive and well, yes indeed, and it doesn't hurt that we've got Alex and Geddy coming back, bringing the old engine back to life. So that's very exciting. We've got a whole bunch to look forward to, but what does the future hold? Do we need to, stand tall and say, prog has to progress? We have to progress into what, right? I mean, it's all kind of sort of been done before at this point. What are you going to do? Try to fuse some different genres, K-pop and prog next? I mean, yeah, the genre bending can work for a little while, but ultimately it's the ideas and it's the creativity of the artist that count the most. And I'm sorry, every song kind of sounds like something else, right? You listen to the top 40 today, all those songs have a precedent in earlier hit songs. Absolutely, they do. Whereas, jazz, progressive jazz, I don't know about you, but last time I checked, they're still blowing into saxophones, So it's really not that far removed from Cannonball Adderley or John Coltrane. It's still jazz. And that's what prog rock is. It is a style. We pinned it with a label, so it can't go anywhere. It's not moving anywhere because we have codified it, right? We have decided to define it. And the definition of prog is very simple. It's much like porn. I really don't know how to describe it, but I know it when I hear it. And that's absolutely true with prog rock too, because as much as it is a style, which I do believe it is a style, you got mellotrons and you've got, 12-string acoustic guitars and you've got dudes that sing in, the high tenor, and you've got all these tropes that make up what people think is prog. But in actuality, what prog really is, it's not a style. It's not a genre. It's a state of mind. And if your intention is to create music solely based on what your muse wants you to do, you're probably not that far away from prog rock. You're really not. Even if you're in a different genre, your headspace is right. You're thinking correctly. The most important thing about prog absolutely is the state of mind of the creator and the state of the mind of the listener. And that is where I'm going next in terms of the listener, the prog rock fan, and what our expectations are, right? I kind of expect every new band to come up with a masterpiece, to have this, that, and the other thing, a sidelong epic, or, this, that, this kind of virtuosity within the band, so we have these built-in expectations about what we want out of our prog, and maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe we just need to throw all that away and just start listening to music with clean ears, right? Wash your hands and, have a little bit of a aperitif to kind of, get your the taste in your mouth, right? So that you can go forward and listen to some of these bands. There's some great, great bands out there that really flirt with the prog rock. And I'm excited. We had the whole windmill scene in South London and all these different kinds of things going on in the prog world. Very, very exciting. Prog does not need to do anything. I am of the opinion that prog rock and the prog rock artists that are applying in that trade can do whatever they want. They can, get totally into a 70s bubble and just dig on it, or they could expand on that. I think about Dominic Sanderson, right? A perfect example of an artist that uses the 70s as a base, but then he's just all over the place on top of that. There's a whole bunch of artists like that out there, but he's the first one that came to mind. So there are options and possibilities out there. There's so much available in terms of, what a prog artist can do. Because again, there are no rules. Do whatever you want. Write a 30-second song, write a 30-minute song. It doesn't matter. What matters is that your intentions are pure and that you want to create music that stands the test of time. And that is the ultimate thing for prog rock. For me, reading about some of those old Italian bands in the 70s, most of those bands, they were all like little kids and whatnot, but they had the audacity. They had the unmitigated gall to believe that their music would stand the test of time, that their music would be listened to and studied 100 years on. Nobody says that about pop music. I'm a big Taylor Swift fan, but nobody's going to be analyzing Taylor Swift songs 100 years from now. It's just ear candy. You listen to it, you enjoy it. That's not what prog's all about. Prog is operating on a much deeper level, and the future is bright, boys and girls. So don't let this prog dilemma, this progressive dilemma bug you. Like what you like, dislike what you dislike, and just have a good time listening to music, because that's what it's supposed to be about, right? We're not supposed to be getting all into these fist fights. No, John, no, yes, or, prog, metal isn't prog, or, whatever hot take you want to put forward. All that matters is that this is the greatest genre in the history of mankind, and I am here to celebrate all of it. Progressive dilemma or not, Enjoy the prog rock, and I will see you guys this Sunday where we got Jonas Lindberg coming on the show. Oh, Sweden's Jonas Lindberg. He's got a brand new album called Time Frames. Jonas Lindberg and the Other Side is the name of the band, whatever. Anyway, boys and girls, he's going to be a great guest. I can't wait to invite him in and have him on the show, 11 a.m. Eastern Sunday. You good boys and girls, you just put your headphones on and listen to prog rock, and everything's going to be all right. I love you. Peace in the Middle East. Free Tibet. Free Ukraine. Free your mind. Free beer. Free Willie. And God save the king. Save King Chucky. Oh, that Chucky needs some saving. Oh, yeah, he does. Bring that boy to America. Oh, yeah, we got thoughts. We got prayers. We got spells. We got incantations. And I got Billy Bob on speed dial. Hey, Billy Bob. How about we bust out some snakes? Oh, yeah, Billy Bob's got them snakes for us today. Oh, yeah, he does. I love you guys. I'll see you Sunday. Peace. In the middle.